One of the great questions is, who owns pain, right? We are in the middle of, fortunately, a pain revolution where we get to talk differently about pain, really appreciate that, as our friend Perry Nicholson says, pain is a request for change. But a lot of people have been talking a long time that pain is information about changing your behavior. That's really the short of it. I just want to be clear, pain, chronic pain, persistent pain, a little bit different, but ultimately, pain is your body's interpretation, your brain's interpretation of something that's going on. To pay attention. And I want you to start to think pain really is no different than lack of range of motion. It's no lot different than showing up and not being very good on the intervals on your bike, right? But the problem is sometimes when we're addressing pain and pain conditions, it's difficult for us to make connections between behavior and suddenly why my ankle hurts or why my knee hurts, right? Especially if it's simple myofascial pain or something. I went for a run, now my knee hurts. What's going on? It's easier for us to connect the dots on lack of force production, for example. So, you had some beers and you didn't get good sleep and then you showed up today and you suck. And I can be like, well, tell me about last night. And you're like, well, I didn't sleep great and I had the meat sweats and, I was on Snapchat all night long, Georgia. And, all of a sudden you understand that, you can make those connections. But pain is just information about something. Your brain is perceiving some aspect of your tissue as threat. Now, it's easy to just go ahead and say, it's all brain, right? It's all in your head. And that's sort of an incomplete sentence because there can be a lot of things that can be sensitizing the tissue. So what we say is, hey, you've become sensitized. What are the next steps? And we can't talk about tissue mechanics or potential mechanisms of sensitization without talking about the environment, without talking about your sleep. So, for example, if you are dealing with chronic pain or you have a persistent pain in a knee or ankle, are you sleeping 8 hours or not? Yes or no, 1 or 0. And that means you may need to be in bed for 8.5 to 9 hours to actually get that 8 hours of sleep, right? 7 hours, per Kirk Parsley, our friend, is you're just barely holding on as a human being. 8 hours is our goal, especially if you have pain, especially if you're trying to make gains or change your body composition or, perform, kick butt in life. A lot of us are under a lot of stress right now. And what I want you to key in here on is that it's difficult for us sometimes to always appreciate all the environmental factors that could change the way my brain or change my brain's sensitivity or its sort of its awareness and perception of what's going on in my body. But when we do have overuse or an adaptation response error, which means I've just used the tissues hard, but maybe I haven't moved or decongested. And it's interesting where we start to see this overlap now between Chinese medicine and Western medicine, where we're having to talk about tissue health and swelling, post-exercise congestion, and suddenly we're talking about stagnation, or we're talking about a congested tissue. So one of the things that we can do whenever we have a pain condition or something hurts is think to ourselves, well, can we change the environment? And that is an easy way of not freaking out when something hurts, but think, well, am I stressed? Am I hydrating? Am I drinking some water with some salts in it? Am I getting any salts, right? Or is my tissue just slow and sludgy? Or am I like layers of warm silk sliding over still springs? Am I sleeping? Am I eating whole foods? Am I highly inflamed because I've just been going to town on the pizza and the candy? That's an environmental issue. Well, also an environmental issue is making sure that we are doing the things we need to do, which means doing things like moving our bodies during the day. So for example, whenever we have some kind of pain condition or painful spot, I want you to dial in and look at the number of steps you're getting. And steps isn't about weight gain or weight loss. It's about moving your body enough to decongest your body. So you've got to have muscle contraction to do things to pump your lymphatics, to shuttle, bring in the groceries and shuttle out the garbage. And there are a lot of particles, especially after tissue strain, that are too big to go into the system and have to go through the lymphatic system. That is your healing response system. I think if you look at our friends at Stop Chasing Pain, they do an excellent job of talking about why the lymphatic system is so important. And this is why we use NMES, this is why I've been doing voodoo compression, and why we advocate for so much movement. Okay. So with that being said, an easy way to look at and changing the environment may be to decongest the tissue. So, for example, if someone shows up and all of a sudden they're like, dude, it's killing me right here. It may be an overuse injury. You've got some pain in your IT band area or where your knee interacts with your IT band. Look, I'm not a doctor, so I can only say I see you have signs and symptoms consistent with pain in this area. But what we can say is, well, can you do anything to change that environment? Well, we talked about some of those environmental changes in terms of behavior, but another behavior change would be to decongest that area. So applying some compression, high-level intermittent compression to this area may be enough to change the fluid dynamics here, right? May be enough to actually change what is going on with the swelling in the interstitial tissue or congestion, which isn't necessarily bad. It's just a feature of the exercise or what we've been doing. And all of a sudden, what we realize is that with a little compression here, and I'm not even talking about movement, that may be enough to change how my brain is perceiving what's going on in that spot, right? Because there's no pain is generated locally. Pain is always a perception by the brain of the tissues. So if I can change an environment, if I can decongest it, if I can get blood flow back in without changing anything else, that may be enough to downregulate threat and improve the quality of the tissues. So really this is shorthand for, did you improve your environment? And environmental improvement may be compression, it may be elevation, it may be decongestion through movement, it may be using NMES, right? Neuromuscular electric stim. There are a whole lot of ways to change that. Maybe restore sliding surfaces, which we'll talk about in the next video. But the bottom line here is change your environment. If you've got pain, your body is saying, hey, pay attention to this. And it may be, it's just a false alarm. It may just be mean, hey, I see that you ran 100 miles yesterday and then you sat in the car and I don't know why you have knee pain. We've seen this before happen. But if we can compress that, elevate that, get the tissues to have a different local environment, like small window, small picture versus big picture environmental change, maybe that's the way. So, in short, take care of your big picture, big window, and don't be afraid to take care of your small picture, small window, because that is how we're going to unravel what seems like pesky musculoskeletal pain.